Hi, this is Justin from Sonic Scoop, and thanks to B&H, we're back for part 2 in our 3-part series on recording guitar without the amp. In the first part in this series, we looked at a few different software platforms for amp modeling. But this time, we're going to look at recording guitar without the amp and without the amp modelers. You've really got two approaches. One is to reamp, so that's kind of like using a real analog amp simulator where you're taking the sound that you've recorded through a DI box and feeding it back out to an amp. For some strategies on miking up real amps, if you want to try the reamp approach, I'd recommend checking out part 3 in our series on miking guitars, where we talk all about mic placements for electric guitar. But the other way to record guitar without an amp, but without an amp sim, is to just forego simulating an amp at all. There's actually a tremendous number of really classic guitar recordings that have been made without amps or amp sims of any kind. What comes to mind often for people first, Led Zeppelin's Black Dog. That's a big one. That's just guitar straight into a desk and then through 2 vintage compressors, these Uri 176s. The Beatles' Revolution, classic DI guitar sound. Nile Rodgers from the band Chic, more recently playing with Daft Punk, big fan of going straight in with direct guitar. A lot of the classic Motown guitar tracks, direct guitar. There are also ways to get very distorted direct guitars that have been popular for the past 20 years. And SansAmp has been one of the biggest brands in kind of providing a pedal interface that'll give you some of the crunch and edge you want out of an electric guitar tone, but without that kind of amplifier sound. Going for this kind of approach will get you something that's a lot more direct, a lot more upfront, in your face, glued to the front of the speaker. In the past, SansAmp, Tech 21 have made a lot of little one-off pedals that would help contribute to this kind of tone. More recently, they've come out with this. It's called the FlyRig 5. And this is a few of kind of their most popular pedals all in one box. So you have first a little delay module, in case you want to add some analog style delays. And then your kind of classic SansAmp module where you can add a little bit of drive and crunch before getting your direct guitar tone. And then a kind of pseudo amp simulator. It's not really simulating a cab being mic'd up, but this Plexi module is kind of a hot rod boost additional gain that's meant to give you some of the overdrive sound of a kind of Marshall head. Vlad is going to try this out on one of his tunes, Free Fall, for us, so we can hear how this approach to recording guitar without the amp sounds. Let's hear it. All right, Vlad, thanks for playing for us again. This time we got to hear you through, it was just the SansAmp direct into the instrument input of your interface, and that's it.
Yep.
No cab emulation, no mic emulation, none of that. What do you think of the tone you were able to get out of this one?
I think it's really cool. That song specifically, which I'm still working on actually, to me it kind of called for like a just straight in DI kind of sound, like tight, like right here, and I think the song kind of called for that. The SansAmp is a great way to do that.
Right, sometimes people forget that there is decades of history of people recording guitars without amps before all this amp modeling stuff, where it's just DI boxes and distortion boxes kind of going straight in. And to me, that tone was very kind of bright, tight, in your face, right in the edge of the speaker. Is that something that you often look for these days, or do you find yourself using amp sims more?
You know, I definitely use that on almost every song to some degree, like in certain sections I need it. I know a lot of guitar players are like, it's gotta be warm, it's gotta be warm. But sometimes like it just needs a bite. It needs to like kind of just like hurt your ear because it's so like in your face and nasty, and I don't know. I think certain songs definitely call for that.
If you want brash and in your face, going this route might be even preferable to some of the amp kind of stuff.
And it's, in a way, it's brash and in your face, but it doesn't sound like a super overdriven, like like I'm not a huge fan of like metal sounding guitars, like the super overdriven stuff. And even though this is super overdriven, it's still got like definition, and you can hear like what you're playing.
It's not just oversaturated slop. You can hear the note definition.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of edge at the same time.
You can hear your pick and stuff, and
Right.
I need that.
Well, it was a very cool tone. Thanks again for playing for us. Thanks for letting us hear some Born Cages.
Yeah.
Very new track. Well, filming this is an unreleased track.
Yeah, it'll still be unreleased when it's out.
Uh-oh. All right.
It's all good,
So
though.
you're getting a sneak preview.
Yeah.
All right, Vlad, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. This has been Justin of Sonic Scoop coming at you courtesy of B&H from the home studios of Mr. Vlad Holliday of Born Cages. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next time.